So I'd like to give a quick lecture on a winner's curse, and I want to tell an interesting case, which I'm still trying to think about what the lessons are. So I've given this the bad title of Sweet Deals on Electricity Prices. So we know the U.S. needs more jobs for middle-class people. And not everybody can be a physics professor. Not everybody wants to work at a Starbucks. And labor economists have long documented that manufacturing offers high school graduates in the United States good jobs at good wages for keeping a middle-class family going. A question arises, can you overpay to keep such jobs? And I want to talk about that now. So this is a picture I grabbed off the internet. We're going to be talking about in the Rust Belt in Ohio that there's aluminum factories, and aluminum is electricity intensive. And a question is arising that these aluminum factories in the U.S. are asking for special treatment from the local electric utilities. These aluminum factories use a lot of electricity to make aluminum, and they, of course, want to pay a low price. You always want to pay a low price for things you buy and receive a high price for stuff you sell. There's a question of whether you have the bargaining clout to achieve that goal. I'd love to make $1 billion a year with these bad lectures, but I can't find anyone willing to pay that. So I settle for what I can make. So here is Hannibal, Ohio. I've never been there before. So this is sort of the traditional, it looks like it's sort of near Columbus, Ohio. And this is at the Pennsylvania-West Virginia border. And this aluminum plant is in Hannibal. And I could imagine that there isn't that much going on in Hannibal and that the people who work there need these jobs. The question is a question arises that I'm going to get to in a moment. So in the recent newspapers, including today's Wall Street Journal and this piece from The Intelligencer, there's been a very interesting story breaking out, and I think the best way to convey this is just to read the lead to you. So Casey Junkins wrote the following piece. The CEO of the aluminum company Ormet is going to shut down unless the Ohio Public Utility Commission gives his firm a large reduction, a large subsidy in energy prices. Let's read. Mike Tannick blasted the Ohio Public Utility Commission on Friday for not further reducing Ormet's electricity bills as he announced the company would cease all operations by next week. So Mr. Tannick is lobbying that he wants lower electricity prices for his firm. He wants his firm to pay less for electricity. That, of course, would reduce its cost of production, raising its profits, making it a more profitable company, and reducing the probability that it will go bust. But money doesn't grow on trees. If the Public Utility Commission gives his company a price discount, it's going to have to charge somebody else, i.e. Ohio electricity consumers. Other consumers are going to have to cross-subsidize his firm. 2 days after the Public Utility Commission announced it would cut Ormet's electric power bills from $60 to $50 per megawatt hour, notice that's a 16% reduction, rather than to a $45 per megawatt. So this company wanted an extra $4.11 reduction in megawatts. The CEO of this company said that he's going to shut down its two remaining plants. And so this is a game of chicken where this Public Utility Commission, who sets rates, gave a generous 16% reduction to his firm, but it wasn't as generous as he requested. If he goes ahead and follows through with his threat, this will cost Ohio, that community we were talking about, 750 workers who still had their jobs, and 1,000 in total. So to me, during a lingering recession, this is a very interesting example of who subsidizes whom. We want America to have middle-class jobs, and the CEO of this firm is saying he's going to shut down, and maybe he's going to move abroad. I don't know where he's thinking of moving his factories, but he's saying unless the Ohio ratepayers, those people who are suburbanites, those people who teach at Ohio State, if LeBron James still has a home in Ohio, whoever's living in his home, this boss, who is a believer in free market capitalism, I presume, wants a big subsidy for his firm. There's a final point I want to make is related to political economy. How could he pull this off? And I think that the answer links back to Mancur Olsen's famous work on asymmetric interest groups. This aluminum smelting factory has the right incentives to lobby hard for a subsidy, for a reduced price in electricity. The losers from this are people who don't work in this industry, who are just regular electricity consumers in Ohio. They're going to pay higher prices. But as Olsen would say, while there's a large number of them, each of them is just going to pay a little bit more. And so they're diffused and face transaction costs from getting together to say, hey, this isn't fair. Why does that guy get a subsidy? And why do we have to pay for it? Now, a Keynesian would say that we need manufacturing jobs and the people of Ohio should be willing to pay to keep them. But the environmental economist in me would point out that there will be environmental benefits from letting this factory shut. And so a key question is, for these workers who will be displaced, what will become of them? My colleague Till von Wachter at UCLA has done research documenting that when you lose your job, the displaced workers' wages fall and only in the medium term converge back, that there is a cost of being displaced from your job. But there's a question of whether the people of Ohio should be paying, is this ransom? Or why is it the case that this company has the right to ask for a subsidy paid for by everyone else in Ohio? Is this company such a key part of the local economic ecosystem? I'd like to see his evidence for that self-serving statement that he is sure that it is.